Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this young lady back. She is a District 1 Republican, great state of South Carolina. It's Nancy Mace. Nancy, how are you? Good to see you again.
I'm doing well, sir. Thanks for having me back on, Joe.
You're very welcome. Anytime you want to come on and talk about very important stuff to the American people and to South Carolina, we love having you. This is the first time you and I have spoken face to face. I think that we sent a couple of messages on Twitter or
Mhm.
something. But since George Stephanopoulos had you on that show on ABC, and I want to bring this up because most people watching and listening remember this because it was just very recently, and the guy was
Mhm.
horrible to you.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, going into something like that, does the anchor, does the host, does the network say, hey, listen, he's going to push you on why you're supporting Trump?
Most networks would say, hey, we're going to talk about these one, two, or three topics. The only topic I had on the menu that morning was 2024 and the general election of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. I didn't have rape on my bingo card. I didn't have, well, let's bully you over being a rape victim, being a rape survivor, and your support for Trump. Nowhere was that on there. I would not have brought my 14-year-old kid to the
Right.
set if I knew that was gonna be the topic. Like what mother would do that? It's gross.
Well, it is gross. And what was gross about his whole angle, he was truly shaming you, attempting to shame you
Mhm,
into saying I shouldn't support Trump because Trump bad. And you called him on it. You said, I'm not going to let you shame me. But then you said
mhm,
something that resonated with everybody. You said, I was raped at 16 and I felt shame since then. Can you
mhm.
explain that? Because I'm not, I haven't, thank God, I haven't been a victim of that. And I can understand where you're coming from, but you were the victim. The bad guy
Yeah.
was the bad guy. Why would you feel shame?
Because most women that come forward, when they come forward, they're shamed for it. They're blamed for it. They're judged for it. All sorts of things are said about them. Somehow it's their fault. And they feel a tremendous amount of shame. And for years, for decades, I always blamed myself. And I always felt shame because of how I knew I would be judged if I came forward, which is why I didn't talk about it to anyone outside of my family for 25 years. Only when we were doing a fetal heartbeat bill in South Carolina and there were no exceptions for victims of rape, I said, well, this isn't right. And let me speak
Right.
up for victims of rape by telling my story. And it takes a lot of courage to talk about it publicly. Even now, I get death threats every single day. People are telling me that my story isn't true, that it's not real. And they're
What?
continuing to bully me online and try to shame me. And, I'm kind of a honey badger. So I'm just sort of like, well, bring it on. But the one thing I did with the George Stephanopoulos interview is I fact checked him live on air multiple
Yes.
times. Donald Trump was not convicted of rape, not in a criminal court, and he wasn't held liable civilly either. The jury had the chance to say to hold Trump accountable or liable for rape, and they chose not to.
Right.
So that massive mainstream media lie that Trump is a rapist just isn't true. And
Right.
no woman should be judged for their political choices because they've been raped. I'm not going to judge you because you vote Democrat this year because you're a rape victim. Just like I shouldn't be judged for it either. My support for Trump is longstanding. This was an easy call. Supporting Trump this year is easier than it's ever been because I look at the dire situation our nation is in and I compare back-to-back presidencies. I look at Donald Trump's presidency and I look at Joe Biden's. This was an easy, easy call. And I'm talking to independent voters. I have a lot of unaffiliated voters in my district. 40% of voters in my district don't identify by party.
Right.
They're with Donald Trump.
As well they should be, because we can go back, as you said, it recently 3 years ago we saw how different it was in this country to where it is now. It's Nancy Mace, District 1 Republican, great state of South Carolina. Before I move on from Stephanopoulos, I know that you weren't thinking this at the time, and by the way, your response was spot on. It was amazing, and he
Mhm.
looked to be as small a guy as he is. In fact, I had Tara Reid on yesterday. She said she met Stephanopoulos back in the day. He's a punk. She called him a punk a couple of times. Not saying that you're saying that, but she did. When he goes after you like that, I'm sure you weren't thinking this at the time, but this is the communications director for Bill Clinton back in the day. This is the
Mhm.
guy that ran interference for Bill Clinton when he was accused of rape by Paula Jones and by Juanita Broderick, and when he was accused of having 30 different affairs. This guy was out there with Hillary Clinton running interference for Bill
Mhm.
Clinton. So for him to think he's got the moral high ground and somehow
Yeah.
try to shame you when you decide to support the former president, that's mind blowing. Did you think of it at the time? And if not, when you thought about it later, did that make it even more egregious?
Well, certainly it was in the back of my mind, but number one, George Stephanopoulos is a Sam or short, angry man. That's what I call him. I went up to him after the interview. I made him look me in the eye, mano y mano, and I made him shake my hand. And that little guy would not even get up from his chair and lift a finger. I mean, it was just so ridiculous what a troll he is. He's basically a bridge troll with a microphone. But the second thing is, I didn't want to cheapen the debate. I wanted to take it to another level and make sure that rape is taken seriously, that it's not a joke, and that it's not
Yes.
okay to bully a rape victim on live on national TV or anywhere in this country for that matter. It's not okay to shame them. And I know that by my demeanor and my just hitting him back with facts, that at the end of the day, we won. We had the moral high ground. We won the messaging on this, and
Yes.
and we beat him to the punch. And quite frankly, George Stephanopoulos opened him and ABC News up to at least $175 million defamation suit. Whatever
Yes.
whatever Donald Trump's bond is, that's what this should be.
I couldn't agree more. It's Nancy Mace. I want to ask you about this tactic the media is using, and it's not just ABC. Although Jonathan Karl is also ABC. I don't know if you saw Senator Rubio on with Jonathan Karl this past weekend, but they tried the same tactic on him. Your name is being mentioned, Jonathan Karl said to Rubio, possibly as a vice presidential nominee. You wouldn't take that, would you? I mean, the guy was like stunned that Rubio would even consider being the second highest office in the free world. And Rubio was like, of course I would consider it. I'm a public servant. And Karl kept on going after him like, really? This guy is horrible. This guy, January 6th, this guy, insurrectionist. So, Nancy, that's their tactic. Is it going to work?
No, it's not going to work. It's not working. I mean, clearly the polling is so bad they've taken to shaming rape victims on national TV with millions of
Right.
viewers live on air. Like they've taken to bullying rape victims. That's the tactic. It's not going to work. I don't see it happening right now, which is why Donald Trump is surging in the polls, why it's more important than ever that we speak to independent voters, that we talk to unaffiliated folks in swing states and in swing districts across the nation. We're talking Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, the places where it matters, where every vote matters. We've got to make sure that we're giving independent, left of center, right of center people a place to land. We got to give them a home. And if we give them a home, they will vote for Donald Trump, I believe, overwhelmingly in November. But that's not easy. We have to be politically diverse if we want to win. And we've got to talk women's issues. Trump was one of the first people out the gate supporting women's access to IVF. We have to be very smart about the issues we talk about: immigration, the border, inflation, and women's issues, by the way.
Right. It is Nancy Mace, District 1 Republican, great state of South Carolina. When it comes to the issues that you're talking about, those states that you talk about, he's leading in all those states. But there is
Mhm.
a push, I believe, by some rhinos like Kevin McCarthy, who's going after you, like Buck, who's leaving or who left, like Gallagher, who's about to leave. I think there's a push to have you guys in the Republican side lose the majority before the election. Do you see that happening right there in the House of Representatives? And why are they doing this?
I have no doubt. And you forgot the part where they kicked George Santos out. Now, I
Right,
think George Santos was guilty. I didn't quite like him as a member of Congress because of the stories that he told that weren't true, but it was up to a jury to decide whether or not he was
right.
guilty. It was up to voters to decide whether or not they wanted him to represent them in Congress, not up to Congress given the circumstances. And so, I believe that there are members among us who are self sabotaging the party. I have sat in meetings with the speaker as he's trying to negotiate a smart spending strategy where we have certain members of certain factions of the Republican Party literally tell him to his face they will kill smart legislation. I mean, I just can't even, we can't even attach HR2 to a spending bill because there are certain Republicans that will kill the bill if we
Wow.
attach border security to it. I mean, I just can't even, and these people, they're among us. They walk among us.
Representative, can it be even more nefarious than that? And let me give you the scenario and tell me what you think. If Congress were somehow to go back to the Democrats before November, they could then draft a bill calling Donald Trump an insurrectionist and exclude him from the ballot. States can't do that, but Congress can. It's in the 14th Amendment. Do you think it can be that bad? Are they that dastardly, do you think?
I think there is nothing that they will leave off the table to take out Donald Trump this year in 2024, which is why I believe that is the most consequential election of our lifetime. Donald Trump and I, we've had our ups and downs. We've made amends. As he likes to say, we've come a long way. But
Yes.
I understand the importance and the gravity of this election year more than ever. I have two teenage kids that I'm trying to raise. Their father and I are trying to raise, and hope that they become successful in our nation. But we can't do that with Joe Biden at the helm. He is ruining, he's destroying our country, and he's doing it on purpose.
So for them, everything's on the table. And you mentioned Santos. Santos was a reliable vote with you guys.
Mhm.
Yes, he's definitely elaborate. He's definitely somebody who's out there, and who knows whether he was guilty or
Not
not.
somebody you can trust, but that's who the voters elected. And until he was
Yes,
proven guilty in a court of law, every person deserves due diligence. I mean,
right.
everyone due process. So, and that's not what happened. Again, I think this started a long time ago. I think the sabotage was purpose, and I believe that it's real based on the timing and how these things are starting to unfold. Fortunately, there are some special elections upcoming. We should be able to retain the majority, but I don't put it past anyone to
Yeah.
sabotage the party or our nation this year. And when it happens, they're showing their true colors. And it's unfortunate. And quite frankly, it's un American.
It bears mentioning that Menendez is still in the Senate. It bears mentioning that Adam Schiff, who lied for 4 years or 6 years about Russia, is still in the House and on committees. You've got Swalwell out there tweeting as if he's above it all, and he's not. You've got people who've done some really bad things on the other side. They always rally around each other. And now we've got Kevin McCarthy coming after you in your district. Explain to my audience what he's trying to do to you.
He's trying to take us out. He's going to spend millions of dollars to take me out. He recruited a woman to run against me. I like to call her a puppet. You can go to puppetcatherine.com and learn about her. She's a Bush girl, as she likes to say. She supported Jeb Bush over Donald Trump. Can you imagine that?
No.
Someone as dumb to support Jeb Bush over Donald Trump in 16, like you can't trust him. The same day that Joe Biden apologized for calling illegal immigrants illegal, my opponent apologized for calling illegals illegal aliens, literally on the same day. I mean, I
Wow.
just, he didn't vet her. We're out raising her, we're out polling her, but they will stop at nothing because they want to kick me out of Congress because I will not heal. I will not toe the party line, especially when it comes to Republicans spending too much, especially when it comes to Republicans that lie to you, like Kevin McCarthy did over and over and over again. He's the one that delivered that horrible debt ceiling bill that put and saddles your children and grandchildren with $50 trillion of debt on the backs of our families in the future. All of that was at the hands of Kevin McCarthy, and I need all the help I can get. I need people to go to nancymace.org, chip in $1, chip in $5, put your name on the list, show that you're a supporter of our campaign, and tell Kevin McCarthy no more.
I'm going to put that up on the screen. It's
Mhm.
nancymace.org/donate and go in and help her candidacy right now. So how does that work in South Carolina? You've already had the presidential choice primary, but the actual primary that you're running against, or this woman's running against you, that doesn't happen yet. When is that going to happen?
That's going to happen on June 11th,
Okay.
and early voting starts the end of May. Again, it is a horse race where we're raising money. We're out polling her, we're out raising her. We got to keep it up, which is why it's not just the amount of money that you raise, it's the number of people to show the grassroots support, which is why we'll cash the check for $1. We'll take it. We need all the money we can get. We need all the names showing their support that we don't support Kevin McCarthy, we support Nancy Mace. This is basically a proxy war between Nancy Mace, myself, and Kevin McCarthy. That's what this is about. And we're not going to take it. We're the only candidate endorsed by Donald Trump in this race for the first congressional district. He believes in me just like I believe in him. And we want to keep the majority. He's helping us keep the majority. If I lose the seat, we lose the majority. That means we're losing the House. And we can't let Kevin McCarthy give the House to Democrats because that is exactly what he wants to happen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was primarying you. This is a
He
this
is
is a
primarying
Democrat?
me,
No, wait,
absolutely. But if
is
I
he a
get beat in the
Democrat?
primary, oh, she can't win the general election. No, she's like, my
Oh, so
opponent
so
is,
so she beats you in the primary, then the Democrat wins.
oh, yeah, 100%. Oh,
Wow.
my opponent has no exceptions for rape or incest or even life of the mother. So think about all the suburban women we're trying to win over.
Yes.
And let's talk about ectopic pregnancy. My opponent a couple of years ago was on record saying, you should die if you have an ectopic pregnancy. The mom should die. She has no exceptions for rape or incest or life of the mother. She said some, I would argue, are racist comments in the wake of Mother Emanuel. She's apologized to illegals for calling them illegal aliens. Like, we lose this, we lose my seat if we lose the primary. I mean, hands down.
District 1 Republican, great state of South Carolina. She is running to retain that seat. She's got the endorsement of former President Trump. Go right now to nancymace.org/donate. I want to talk about abortion just a little bit because every single day, the Twitterer of Joe Biden, it's not Joe Biden, it's probably KJP, whoever's tweeting for him, puts out something about Donald Trump killed Roe v. Wade, hates women. Donald Trump doesn't want women to have health care. Nancy, you just mentioned a few exceptions that I think most people think are common sense. Life of the mother, rape, incest. I mean, I don't think that's a big argument. Even those who say they're pro-choice, if you talk to them about that and say, but if I give you these exceptions, are you pro-life? Many will say yes. Is the Republican side doing enough to combat this whole lie about you and Donald Trump going after women's health care?
Oh, it's a complete lie. And in fact, when the IVF ruling in Alabama came out, Donald Trump said he's pro IVF. I was the first Republican, I believe, coming out in favor of protecting IVF. But, all these lies online to say that Republicans are trying to take IVF away from women. No, that's not the case at all. In fact, the leader of our party, Donald Trump, wants to guarantee and make sure every single woman has access to IVF. But we
Right.
are against the mainstream media. They're coming after us. They're part of the election interference that's happening. They're trying to persuade the American people, undecideds and independents that haven't made a choice yet, that Republicans hate women. I don't. I have been working on exceptions. I've been working to protect women who've been raped, girls who are victims of incest, life of the mother, IVF. I have a rape kit bill. I mean, there are all these things about women's issues that I've been working on because I know how important this issue is to suburban women. I've been working on them for years, and I've done it in a bipartisan way. And Donald Trump, we have very similar positions.
Right.
He wants to do this very similar things, and so he's good for women. And we've got to get that message out there. But we have to combat mainstream media with conservative media, with blogs, with podcasts, with the social media. We need everyone out there arguing in favor of Trump over women's issues, over what Biden has done. He won't give you his limits because his abortion limits, he has no limits.
He
The
literally
left,
he won't answer the question. He's
no,
been
they
asked that
won't.
question. KJP won't answer the question. There are no. You're right. You can have an abortion right as the baby's in the birth
Correct,
canal, and it doesn't make any
correct,
sense. It's actually sick. But we need to do a better job. I say we as
correct.
conservatives in letting people know the counter argument. It's Nancy
Mhm.
Mace. Go to nancymace.org/donate. I've got maybe 30 seconds, and I appreciate you giving me so much time. When it comes to spending, I'm so sick and tired of hearing the power of the purse when nobody
Mhm.
seems to want to use the power of the purse. At some
Correct.
point, don't we need a speaker that'll dig his heels in or her heels in and say, I'm going to do like Nancy Pelosi did, my way or the highway. We don't seem to want to do that on our side.
Yeah, we need to draw a red line. We need to have a line in the sand. We need to have a hill to die on. That hill is immigration. That hill is border security. That is where the majority of people are. They don't like seeing what's going on right now. I'll tell you, there's a breaking news story right now in my district, one of my largest counties in a small town. We have an illegal immigrant running around armed and dangerous right now. We've had MS-13 gang members arrested in small town South Carolina, human trafficking bust in my hometown, small town of Goose Creek 3 years ago, 28 people arrested.
Wow.
This stuff is everywhere. And Donald Trump has the formula to secure the border. He's done everything right where Joe Biden has done everything wrong. And again, this is an issue. This is the hill to die on. This is make or break it for the Republican Party. And we don't have enough people strong enough to stand up with a spine and say no more.
Well, I think people watching and listening know that it's time to say no more and dig our heels in. It's Nancy Mace, District 1 Republican, great state of South Carolina. Go support her candidacy. She's being primaried by Kevin McCarthy, basically. NancyMace.org/donate. Get there right now. Nancy, thanks a million. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Joe, and
All
God
right.
bless.
God bless. We're back after this. Stay right here.